All right, back at it again. We got a privateer out of Texas. What's your number? 282, Dylan Kirchner.
Yeah,
Yep.
my original number is 282, but for the Nationals this summer, they gave me my number 496, which is one of my buddies that passed away.
Oh,
So
really?
it's cool to be running his number that I was able to actually get his number
Hmm.
for the summer.
That's what's up,
Yeah,
man. That's cool. That's a lovely thing to do, man. Right
yeah.
on. That's cool. So let's talk, man. Where about for you? Where about are you from in Texas?
San Antonio,
San.
been here my whole life pretty much.
Okay. Okay. Now, Texas is a big stomping ground for motocross, man. There's a lot of good racing out there, a lot of stuff. Did you grow up doing all your racing out of Texas? And do you actually still do some racing there to make a little bit of money on the side?
Yeah, here and there. There's actually a race coming up next weekend. They've got a good little pro purse that
Hmm.
I'm probably gonna go do. It's 2 hours away. Where I'm at, I've got to drive at least an hour and a half, 2 hours just to get to the tracks I want to ride.
Okay.
Um, where I'm at in San Antonio, Sac Ranch is closed down.
Hmm.
There's a couple other tracks around here, uh, just not to my liking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
where do you get most of your training done? I mean, since nothing's fairly too close, like, and nothing you truly like. I mean, when you focus on outdoors, where do you go?
So, everybody's heard of Swanson.
Hmm.
He's 10 minutes down the road from me. I go ride
There
there
you
during the
go.
week a lot of the time.
There you go.
He's got his own little piece of property and he's doing his own training camp.
Hmm.
It's pretty cool. I've I've been there. I've seen it from the start, so it's cool to see the progression that he's had out there.
Hmm.
And then there's this place called Burn and Dirt.
Hmm.
It's I think it's northeast of Austin, but
Okay.
it's out in the middle of the country and it's pure white sand. It gets crazy and
Mm.
gnarly, especially
Mm.
after a good rain.
Yeah, people don't realize how big Texas is, man, and I'm sure probably a lot of tracks are fairly not similar, but distance-wise to like Canadian tracks, because everything is kind of broken up and spread out here. And I'd imagine with Texas being so big, it'd probably be this kind of on the same scale.
Yeah, I've got 5 hours to Dallas,
Ooh,
and you got seven, eight tracks up there.
okay.
I'm 3.5 hours away from Houston. They've got a
Hmm.
few tracks up there. And then Austin, an hour and a half, there's three tracks.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, so, but pretty much I only ride Swanson's here in San Antonio.
Mm, okay. So what do you do, man, to support your habit, man? If you race, not full time and you're just kind of doing these selected races to make a little money, how do you support your habit, man?
I work for my dad. I'm a
Okay.
journeyman electrician
Nice.
and been going at it 7 years now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. That'll keep you going, man. So
Yeah, it's a good deal.
so I take it your pops is a little bit lenient with you when it's time to go racing and you got all these nationals to spread out all over the place.
Yeah, it definitely helps a lot working for family because they understand what I'm trying to do.
Hmm.
So I know it puts more stress on him, so everything I do, I try to plan it to where I'm not gone a very long time. I'm always trying to get back so I can get back to work and,
Hmm.
just I don't want to leave all the work to him.
Okay. Now you've been a AMA pro racer for a while now, but you also spent some time racing here in Canada for a few years. Why did you choose Canada and how'd you make out when you were here racing?
Really, Swanson, he kind of pressured me to come up there,
Oh, really?
dragged me up there with him,
Hmm.
and it was one of the best summers I've ever had
Nice.
racing. It was just a ton of fun going
Hmm.
up to a whole new place, really, just checking out how different it was up there.
Hmm.
The tracks, they have their own kind of different style as to where there's a lot of flat tracks here.
Hmm.
But I felt like when I was up in Canada, there were so many tracks that had elevation to them.
Hmm. Hmm. So that's how you would compare the two from say like a national track in the states and a national track here. It's just the elevation changes, or is it a little bit more?
Um, I will say the tracks up in Canada felt like they had more of a natural flow. Like
Mm-hmm.
they worked with the layout of the land and all that. It
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite ones is Walton, and then Deschambault.
Okay.
Just the natural land surrounding the track. It made it a lot of fun.
Nice. And how'd you make out racing the nationals here?
My best finish there was 15th overall,
Okay.
and that was at Deschambault,
Mm-hmm.
I think in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you run the whole? You did the whole national, or you just did selected events when you came up here with Swanee?
Um, there were there was one year where, well, the first 2 years I went up to the West Coast, tried
Mm-hmm.
to do the West Coast with Swanson,
Mm-hmm.
and then 2 years I did 2 or 3 years I did East Coast.
Okay.
On West Coast I had bad luck. I
Hmm.
didn't uh, really qualify well. It crashed,
Mm-hmm.
bike problems. The second year, my first race, which was Calgary,
Mm-hmm.
I broke my collarbone. It was
Oh.
I can't, not sure if you remember, but it was Thompson, uh, Gerke,
Mm-hmm.
I think Colton Fossiati. It was all the top guys. We all got uh, piled up in the first corner at Calgary, first moto. So I didn't even get to make it a whole lap,
Damn.
really.
Damn.
And
Set you back right off the start, huh?
yeah. Coming back though, it worked out to where we stopped in Colorado, and I actually got to watch the Valley National.
Oh, that's cool.
So I mean, we made something of it on the way back home.
Nice, nice, nice. Now, are you planning on making your return here to Canada, man? If the borders change and everything comes back to normal, would you like to get back up here and do some more motos?
I'd really like to. If the opportunity presents itself, I'll definitely try to figure out something because I got a lot of friends up there that
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen in
Mm-hmm.
almost 3 years now,
Oh wow.
probably,
Wow. Okay.
and it's just cool to go back and see all the greenery. Really, I
Yeah. Yeah.
where I'm at, it's all city and everything, and when
Mm-hmm.
I'm up in Canada, I feel like I'm just out in the country the whole time. It's
Yeah.
really nice up there.
Yeah. See, with me being from California, like, and when I first came here, and like I was always looking at their tracks, international tracks, man, it feels like you're in Rush Sugar at every round almost. You know what I mean? Because the scenery
Hard
is
time.
just so nice. Um, but look, you're getting ready to start getting ready for your nationals, and you got about 10 rounds, I think, selected out of the 12. Man, how come you're doing most of them? Just besides two. I mean, how come you're not going to do the two?
Just from planning,
Mm-hmm.
trying to stay away from home too long.
Mm-hmm.
And the schedule actually kind of worked out in my favor this year.
Okay.
How they've got breaks in between, I think every 3 or 4 rounds they've got breaks,
Mm-hmm.
and they vary from 2 to 4 weeks long. So uh, that's kind of why
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do the first round, just because it's so far west. Same with the
Mm-hmm.
second round. I'm
Yeah.
kind of iffy on it. I want to do it because that'll make 10 rounds, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just so hard to make the West Coast when you got one round in the middle,
Yeah.
central
Mm-hmm.
U.S., and then pretty much all the rest are East Coast. So
Yeah, that's
it's just
true.
hard to get all the way back over to the West Coast.
Now, what do you do as a privateer at your caliber, and say you got a race, and then you got another race, part of the national that's 2 weeks out? Do you find a place to stay? Do you drive there? What do you do within that time period? I mean, do you go back home and then you reschedule and come back out to another national after? I mean, what do you do since you're going to do 10 out of them?
So my plan is to stay in my little trailer. I've
Mm-hmm.
kind of made it to where you can just crash out in it, camp in it.
Mm-hmm.
I've made it to where you can just go around for a couple weeks.
There you go.
Um, yeah, I pretty much just plan on staying in there.
Mm-hmm.
If I have any buddies that are in states that are close to the track, I'll try to go stay there, or any tracks that just don't mind the
Mm-hmm.
privateers
Mm-hmm.
coming to stay during the week when they're traveling across the states.
Mm-hmm.
Just stuff like that. I'm gonna be figuring it out here pretty soon.
Okay. Still working on a few bucks, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
you got to figure out. a couple different things now just because the gas prices are crazy now.
That's another thing. Yeah, it's ridiculous now, man. You definitely don't want to come to California. I don't know how bad they are in Texas, but you don't want to do the West Coast rounds.
It's about I have a diesel and it's
Hmm.
about $5 everywhere here.
Okay, okay. Yes, if you're paying for race gas, it feel like you might get a little bit of a discount. But
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe.
but in a
Um,
vehicle, man, it's tough. Especially when you're driving, so far and so many miles. Going to race. Yeah, you definitely gotta find ways to budget. For sure.
yeah, I've calculated all the miles and how
Hmm.
many gallons I would go through just from driving on these trips, and like the whole series, if I did my math right, it's
Hmm.
1,200 gallons of diesel that I need,
Wow.
and
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's
Times
something.
that by five. I know, right?
Yeah, it's about 5 grand just in gas. It's kind of crazy to think that.
Yeah, it is. It is.
A year ago when I was thinking about this and gas prices, then I did all the math then, and shoot, it only came out to about $1,500 in gas. 2,000.
Man. Yeah, the price of inflation on everything, man. Now we got to pay for it, unfortunately, man. And I know being a privateer, it is tough, dude. And gas prices is probably going to throw a monkey wrench in a lot of privateers out there who want to do the nationals. For them, they definitely got to probably select certain rounds that they're able to do, or kind of make a little bit of extra money on the side to be able to support that, man. But
Yeah.
you got all your bases covered so far. You're still working on them, so that's a good thing, man. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about Supercross, man, because I noticed you don't do Supercross at all, or it's very little, man. And why do you tend to shy away from that?
It's just never really caught my interest. When I was
Hmm.
younger on 80s, I actually go used to go out to Heath Voss's house. He's
Okay.
about an hour away from where I live,
Hmm.
and we used to go out there and ride. And I tried to do some of the sections on my little 85, and I got one rhythm down, and after
Hmm.
that, it just felt sketchy to me.
Really?
I didn't really have interest in it, and
So
yeah.
you never attempted it on a big bike at all?
Uh, I've done a few jumps at Swanson's. That's about it.
Yeah. I don't blame you, man.
And I was like, that thing was peaky.
Yeah, a little bit intimidating, that's for sure. Especially, I mean, when you're seeing it as a pro, as an amateur. Like, I was telling somebody this. They had a few Supercross tracks, uh, where I was growing up riding and racing, and I rode some of them just to kind of get a feel for them, but just wasn't my thing, man. It wasn't. I felt like I was better more on the ground than I was in the air. Supercross is just everything's in the air, everything's technical timing and stuff like that. Where I was like, dude, nah, this is not what I want to do. So I stick to moto,
Yeah.
man. I stick to moto.
I like the freedom, uh, like all the extra free space on the track compared
Yeah,
to Supercross.
yeah.
I felt like if I was ever on a Supercross track trying to race,
Hmm.
it's you can barely only have three bikes wide on one lane or in a
Yeah.
corner, and you're basically touching bars. And to me, that kind of blows my mind. And
Hmm.
all the people I know that race Supercross, the privateers I know around here,
Hmm.
it's all props to them because that's a whole nother level of riding and
Yeah.
technical riding, especially.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's
props to
true.
them. It's just never been something I was interested in.
Do you ever train with any of the guys from Texas besides Swanee when you're out there putting in motos?
Brendan Sipple,
Hmm.
I usually ride a lot with him, but
Okay.
he's taken more of the indoor kind
Hmm.
of racing seriously this year.
Okay.
So I haven't really been to the outdoor tracks with him.
Hmm.
So right now I'm kind of riding by myself, and it's hard to do that because
Yeah.
it's hard to judge where you're at and if you're
Yeah.
pushing as hard as you think you can and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
I'm hoping soon that when nationals get closer, a lot of the other privateers around here are riding outdoors, and I can travel to those tracks and just have someone to ride with and push myself.
Okay. Now you're riding a 450 or you're riding a 250?
450.
What's your intake on running a stock 450 versus a mod 450 in the outdoor national?
Well, in 2020, I actually rode a stock 450.
Okay.
The only thing I've done to it was the suspension,
Mhm.
and I didn't feel like it was that big of a disadvantage.
Mhm.
Where I felt the disadvantage was right off the gate.
Mm.
But when you get going on the track and get into your groove and everything,
Mhm.
I think the rider's ability takes over rather than
Yeah.
how fast the bike is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, the mod motor stuff, it's worth it
Mhm.
if you're trying to make a motor that's reliable but can get off the gate fast.
Yeah.
450 has a lot of power. You don't,
No, I
to me,
know.
you almost don't want to add much
Yeah.
more because
Yeah.
it's already hard to control sometimes.
That's true.
But to me, like I would get an ECU,
Mhm.
try to map it to where it gets off the gate quicker, and
Mhm.
that's basically it. I don't want a super gnarly motor that's uh I think a super gnarly motor would make it hard to keep the momentum smooth through the corners,
Mhm.
especially with throttle control. So
Okay.
that's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you just got the bike. You just picked up your suspension today. I take it, and you're getting it all set up for outdoors. Do you run two bikes for outdoors? You run one bike. You got to practice a mod bike. I'm not a mod bike. You got to practice in a race bike, or do you just run one
Yeah.
bike all year and maintain that bike?
So a few years ago it used to be where I just had the one bike and I had to really maintain it and keep up with it just to keep it going for the
Mhm.
races that I wanted to do.
Mhm.
But this year I've got a practice bike and a race bike,
Okay.
same as I did in 2020.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, I got the suspension back for the practice bike. I'm going to
Mhm.
be putting that on tonight, actually,
Okay.
and going to be taking it out to get it set up tomorrow at one of the tracks in Austin.
Mhm.
And the build for the race bike is going to pretty much start this upcoming week. I've got to take the suspension off. I'm trying to talk to Twisted Development to see
Mhm.
what they can do for me, what they
Okay.
recommend,
Mhm.
because I've never actually had a 450 mod motor or any type of mod motor really.
Okay.
I've always raced stock bikes and stuff like that. The most I ever had was an exhaust and suspension.
Mhm.
So
This
yeah,
might be an
I'm
eye
just
opener for you, man. You might get on this mod bike and be like, "Shit, what took me so long?" You know, maybe there was a disadvantage on this 450. You never know.
yeah, it's hard to say because I've just
Yeah.
never had that mod motor,
Okay.
and yeah, I've never we've never spent more than let's say 2,000 on a motor before, and
Okay.
that's just with clutches and uh, piston,
Hmm.
just the basics really.
Yeah. Yeah. Who does your suspension on your bikes?
Factory connection
Okay. Okay.
yeah, since 2015.
Hmm. So once you get your suspension back from these guys and you set it up on your bike, you take it out to the track and you make all the simple adjustments, the sag and all that on your own, or you got somebody out there kind of presetting everything up for you.
No, I've pretty much done it all by feel.
Hmm.
I'll make some adjustments, go out on the track for 5, 6 laps, see if I
Hmm.
feel a difference, come back in, think about how the bike reacted in some areas, and see if I can tweak it a little here and there.
Hmm.
What's helped me a lot is I've actually listened, listened to a lot of Kiefer Inc. testing stuff,
Okay.
to help me figure out how to adjust suspension and
Hmm.
just really figure out my setup because I was never that into it. I kind of got a basic setting from Factory Connection and I just rolled with it. But
Hmm.
the past year and a half, 2 years, I've really tried to learn how my suspension reacts and work with it to
Hmm.
adjust it to different tracks and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of guys tend to like some of their suspension harder, and some guys like it stiff. I mean, very soft and kind of like a mushy suspension. Me, I
Yeah.
was always like the hard pack suspension stuff. I always rode hard pack stuff. Everybody was like, "Man, you need to soften this thing up." I softened it up, adjusted clickers, and I didn't like it. I never liked it too soft. That's just I always enjoy riding my suspension kind of a little bit stiff. But how do you like yours? I mean, because I know you got to adjust it so often, but can you get used to it when you're constantly adjusting it?
Um, well, that'd be thanks to Factory Connection. They've really given me a good setup to where I told them, I like it to be stiff, but I
Hmm.
also don't want it to feel harsh.
Yeah.
So they've done the magic to where at the beginning of the stroke, it's stiff.
Mm-hmm.
It'll absorb a hard impact, but when
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through braking bumps and stuff like that, it stays steady. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm not too great at describing how the suspension works, but it's just however they've set it up lately in the past couple years, it's been comfortable, especially when I get
Mm-hmm.
it back. And I've put 50 hours on a set before, and they say you got to service it every 40, but
Mm-hmm.
even at 40, 45 hours, it still was working really well.
Okay.
It was stiff on top and then plush once you really got into the stroke of it, and
Mm-hmm.
still worked really well.
Good, good, good. Now, I want to ask you just a question that's just a little bit different. I tend to throw like a little odd question in some of my interviews, but this is regarding the AMA because I speak with a lot of privateers, and a lot of privateers it's hard. It's a struggle. The struggle is real for privateers, and if you can change one thing in the AMA's rule book, man, what would that one thing be?
The rule book.
And
Um,
when I say rule book, I mean just anything in AMA in general, like entry fees, privateer payouts, anything. I mean, what would be the first thing to come to mind that you would want to change?
Man, I would say payout, really.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of privateers like me, we struggle to get to these races, and I'm not trying to talk down any other sports, but
Mm-hmm.
I've heard it to where, you know, these golfers, professional golfers, they'll go to an event and there'll be like 40 people there. We got 40 people on a gate,
Mm-hmm.
but I've heard like last place, they still make over probably 2 grand. It still covers them going there and
Yeah,
everything. And,
yeah,
last place at a national, we don't even make over 1,500. And that's if
yeah.
you get contingency from your brand as well.
Hmm.
Um,
No,
yeah, I think just,
when you say make 1,500 and you come in last, is this like throughout the
I
series
mean,
or is this per race?
I mean like 40th at a national. Like you got
Okay.
40th at a national and you still didn't make more than $1,500.
Okay.
But
Well.
you spent $1,500 just getting there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah, I get a lot of complaints, man, on the payout. I wish AMA would do something. That's been a big complaint for many years and towards a lot of guys, and they know the struggle is real with the privateers, and they know that the fan base is huge in motocross, and I believe that the privateers need to be getting paid a little bit more, not even like maybe even a salary or something that will benefit the riders or free entry fees or something where they feel that they can actually help because they're the backbone of the sport. I say it all the time. You guys are the backbone of the sport, man. You guys bring in the crowds. You guys, I mean, the pits is full. If it was just factory racers, to me, the racing would be good, but there's no
yeah.
backbone. There's
Um,
go for
yeah. Sorry.
it.
I was gonna say if it's just like factory teams, that kind of just reminds me of MXGP.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
them are factory teams
yeah,
or registered teams that
hmm
are allowed to race that class.
yeah,
Because you can't just be a privateer like me and roll up and be like, "Hey, I want to race a 450 Pro class this
yeah,
weekend."
yeah.
Like you got to be on a team, and then some of the races you see in MXGP, you only got 22 450 pros on the gate.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. See,
A
I'm
lot of the
not.
times
Go ahead.
in Argentina, it's like that.
Mm-hmm. That is
Yeah.
true. So a lot of guys, what I say, I mean, to the factory pros, I don't want you guys to take me wrong like I'm bashing you. I'm not. You guys are spoiled. Some of you guys are spoiled. There's nothing wrong with being spoiled. If I worked hard, I would mind being spoiled up there in that ball game too. But I just want to cover some of the guys in the sports who are pushing the sport and coming out of the amateur ranks and doing supercross and doing the nationals. Like much as they involve themselves in the sport over the years, I believe that they should get something in return, man, because you're putting so much into the sport, especially when you turn pro, and you're doing all the traveling. Like you said, the price of gas is ridiculous now, and I think there should be other ways where pros can get paid more, and I think it'll just make the sport even better. Because you got more guys showing up, you got more guys wanting to race at this point. So it only makes logical sense because when guys don't get the payout or when guys don't make enough money and it's like, dude, why am I doing this? And that was kind of like my next question for you. Like throughout your career as a pro and racing all these races in the States and Canada, um, Have you ever thought about just quitting? You ever thought about like, fuck this, I'm just wasting money, or I'll just race locally. I'm pro. I'll just do some things here. Why do you push yourself to do all the nationals, since the payout is not that great?
Really, it's just the one goal. My dream is always to be on that gate at an outdoor national, just to really prove to myself that
Mm-hmm.
um, I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got into professional racing, well, not professional racing late, but I started taking it seriously at a very late age.
Okay.
Like I started just kind of doing local expert pro stuff around here when I was 18, 19.
Okay.
And I didn't come up to Canada till I think I was 21
Oh wow.
or
Okay.
20. So I got a late start trying to attempt nationals and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just a goal to prove to myself that I can make it there. I did it. Um, I know I started way too late to
Mm-hmm.
try and make it a career.
Mm-hmm.
Although I always think of Brayton, he's 37 years old and he's got
That's
a factory
that's
ride pretty much.
yeah,
So
yeah. It can be done.
yeah, it can be done, but it's a lot of
Slow.
work.
Yeah.
And so I did set up a GoFundMe.
Mm-hmm.
It's to help really cover gas. Like
Okay.
I can, I pretty much had a lot of this stuff covered until all the craziness with the gas, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm really trying to figure out a way, how to afford getting to all the races and stuff like that. I've
Mm-hmm.
had people offer me to help with training classes, and they'll give me a portion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've had people offer me money just to be on the part of the part of the bike sponsors,
Mm-hmm.
just to help me get there in general. So a lot of people have reached out. A lot of people are trying to help me get there, and it's it's really awesome to see how many people actually want to see you get there because
Mm-hmm.
you never really think about how many people are rooting for you until you're actually there, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And AOT right here, my gear company,
Mm-hmm.
I've come up with them well, they picked me up and they're brand new.
Okay.
I don't even think they're 2 years old,
Oh wow.
but they gave me the opportunity of helping develop this gear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been an awesome opportunity. Their Kip at AOT is really awesome. He'll work with any rider. They love to do custom work for any teams or organizations.
Okay.
Fox Chase Farm is another one that's helping me out.
Mm-hmm.
They're they're really helping me get to the nationals, and
Good. Good. Good.
I've got a personal relationship with them too, just through work. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, what's cool about them is that they offered. I never asked.
Oh really?
So
There you go.
just just seeing and hearing people wanting to offer to help get me there,
Mm-hmm.
it just makes me want to push that much harder. And I
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
that's helping me get there.
Good. Good. You got some good people on your time on your side, man, and that's good to have. And I wish you the best. And like I said, let's catch up, man. And I'm there to support you, man. That's what I do. I'm glad I gave you a platform to be able for you to be heard, and I'll do whatever I can to help you guys out, man. That's what I'm about.
I appreciate it. If anyone wants to go add me or follow me, it's just Kirchner 282 on Instagram. And
Okay.
if you feel like being generous, my GoFundMe is on the bio link. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Well, Dylan, that'll be it, man. I appreciate it. And we're gonna do this again, man, and be in contact with us, and then I'll definitely be in contact with you, and then let's make it happen for yourself, and let's do an update.
yeah. Thanks for bringing me on. It would be maybe I'll hit you up halfway through the season. We can get something going.
Hey, that sounds good, man. You can hit me up anytime. We'll make it happen.